In next week's episode, we'll be discussing the highly divisive topic of condo fold. Is it truly the most effective way to save space?
I have also taken the liberty of making each and every listener a goodie bag.
And you're listening to GOALSHIP, the podcast where we talk about entrepreneurship and goal setting. So let's get into it, you goal-getters.
I didn't want a podcast. I didn't. Everybody has a podcast now. Initially, the idea of maintaining any kind of social media, including a podcast, was naturally terrifying. But then I remembered that it was a solitary act that could be done alone.
Well, hi everybody. Welcome back to I Hate to Say I Told You So, but I'll say it.
Moving on to another fan favorite segment. Get out of there! This is the segment where I teach you how to dance your way out of any pain point.
And I'm very sorry to Brenda, the Target employee who I apparently offended. But just so you know, the name of the show is Conflict is Fun, and you called me.
Whew. Is this what it feels like to talk about your anger out loud? This feels really good.
Well, welcome back. This podcast is sponsored by Brothers Labels, which is convenient for me, seeing that I've basically kept them in business. In fact, that leads me to today's organizational tip, which is what we can label. We've already covered labeling your spice drawer. We've already covered labeling your utensil drawer, which makes it a lot more helpful for your family to put it away properly. Recently, I've started labeling my fridge and the different drawers, so we know where the cheese, the meat, the fruit. You could tell just by looking at it, but I also feel it's incredibly helpful to be labeled. So thank you to Brother Labels for sponsoring this podcast today. Well, I guess I've talked about labeling so long that now this episode is basically about labeling. So in next week's episode, we'll be discussing the highly divisive topic of condo fold. Is it truly the most effective way to save space? You might be surprised to hear the other side of the story. The week after that, we'll be discussing organizing your garage. My husband will be joining us for that. He's an Enneagram 8 and has opinions. 3 weeks from now, we'll be discussing how to organize your family photos. 4 weeks from now, we'll be discussing how to organize your shoes by color. 5 weeks from now, we'll be discussing... Honestly though, every time I sign off, I have to have a moment. Because I know in my heart, I'm really not very good at this. And I don't know why people listen to me. And I don't really even know if I should keep doing this.
I always bring snacks with me when I do my podcast. They're not for me. Oh my goodness, no. These are for the tech guys who helped me over here at the studio with putting this little podcast together. So initially, I really wanted to name my podcast Chicken Soup for the Soul. I had this really fun idea to do a 30-minute show where I would kind of, talk people through a comfort food recipe, and people could call in and just vent all their anger and frustrations on me like an unpaid therapist, I thought that sounded so fun, and it was really hard to learn that name was trademarked and unavailable. I thought about doing a version of the show where I make a gourmet hamburger instead, and people call in and vent their problems to me. I wanted to call it Hamburger Helper. That was also taken. So here we are, the Casserole Counselor. I have also taken the liberty of making each and every listener a goodie bag. So leave in the comments your full name, your home address, any dietary restrictions you may have, and your shirt size, so that I can deliver you your goodie bag just for tuning in today to show you I appreciate you. This is the Casserole Counselor.
I know that this isn't recorded video, but I just feel like I look so much better if I take a moment beforehand to get ready. Helps me get in the right mindset. Okay. Podcasting is one of my favorite things. And you're listening to GOALSHIP, the podcast where we talk about entrepreneurship and goal setting. So let's get into it, you goal-getters. You guys, I just love podcasting. It's the best. I mean, I'm on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest, WeChat, Tumblr, Reddit, Snapchat, WhatsApp, MySpace. It's still there. But podcasting is my ultimate fave of all those. Hands down. I've been podcasting since 2008, before podcasting was even a thing. I'm one of the OG podcasters. Now, friends, if you enjoyed even one moment of this podcast, I'd like you to give a review wherever you listen to podcasts. 5 stars, 10 stars, whatever you want. Just make sure it's positive, because that's what fills the void in my soul.
Hello, and welcome back to She Spoke, the podcast where I whisper speak for 45 minutes, punctuated by triangle vibrations. I didn't want a podcast. I didn't. Everybody has a podcast now. It's become a very saturated, just a very soggy, very waterlogged kind of a place. But my myriad Instagram followers would not stop doxologizing in my inbox. They were a chorus chanting, "We need your special, unique unicorn voice in this space, in every space." And I could not deny them that. Try to count how many colors you can hear as the triangle vibrations fade into nothing. Now's the part of the show where I talk to my plant. You're beautiful. You're doing so well. You're courageous. You are full of fire. She spoke. Until next time. And we are on. Very good. Okay. Hello, and welcome back to As Everyone Knows, the podcast where I exchange my knowledge on various topics for your affirmation and attention. It's all very healthy. Initially, the idea of maintaining any kind of social media, including a podcast, was naturally terrifying. Just the thought of it drained my internal battery life to 50%. But then I remembered that it was a solitary act that could be done alone by myself. And suddenly it became very, very appealing. We've been wrapping up our series on off-grid living, and last week's episode, contrasting the East Valley and Central Phoenix Beekeepers Associations, was really a raging success. I'm still getting a lot of feedback about that. I will be doing a follow-up episode about requeening your hive so that you always have access to your own honey supply. So look for that coming soon. Something is wrong with the thing. I could call the tech guy who happens to be here for this exact malfunction, but I really think that I should be able to figure this out for myself. I'm just gonna research this really quick. I am competent. Thank you for your patience. It took me 1 hour and 45 minutes, but I pulled the microphone apart and I have reassembled it. Today's episode is now about how to build a microphone from scratch. Let's get into it.
This is a shared space, so I like to make sure everything is properly sanitized before we start. Well, hi everybody, welcome back to I Hate to Say I Told You So, but I'll say it because that's just part of my vernacular. I say it all the time. The only time I didn't say it was in the year 2000 when Y2K never happened. But the evidence said it was going to, so still a little bit bitter about that one. Not that I wish it happened, but it would have been nice to have a perfect score. Well, as you know, I also predicted that we would run short on toilet paper, paper towels, baby wipes, hand sanitizer. But what you don't realize is that I am aware of the next thing that we are going to run short on that you should stockpile, and that is sidewalk chalk. And the media is not telling you about it because the media wants to hoard the sidewalk chalk for themselves. And I don't want any parent or art-loving individual out there to be without sidewalk chalk. And you're hearing this first on I Hate to Say I Told You So.
Are we rolling? We're rolling? Let's do it! Okay, here we go. Welcome back to Let's Do This, the podcast where we discuss whatever I happen to be into at the moment. So let's kick off today with one of my favorite segments, Top 3 Books You Should Begin This Season. Let's do this. The Room Where It Happened by John Bolton. Ooh, the first 73 pages are a non-stop thrill ride. 5 Ways to Organize Your Life by Colin Ollivander. I found the first 2 tips so helpful. Educated by Tara Westover. Solid forward. If you happen to finish any of those books, please comment below. I would love to know how they end. Moving on to another fan favorite segment. Get out of there! This is the segment where I teach you how to dance your way out of any pain point. Today's topic, how to get out of an uncomfortable budgeting conversation with your partner. When my husband busts out that monthly spreadsheet, I fake heat stroke. Now who can't afford a trampoline room, Jeremy? Wait for a lull in the conversation, hit Spotify, start a dance party. Lastly, I'm sorry, sweetheart, I would love to continue this budgeting conversation with you, but unfortunately, I've got to mask up. These are uncertain times. I can't hear you in the mask. I can't hear you. So we're getting the trampoline room?
Welcome back to Conflict is Fun, the show where you call me and then we argue. It's super fun and the lines are open. Is this on? Is this working? Nobody's calling. Okay, I admit last week I was a little harsh and I'm very sorry to Brenda, the Target employee who I apparently offended, but just so you know, the name of the show is Conflict is Fun and you called me. But you know what? You've heard of call-in shows. And since nobody's calling me today, we're going to call out. I got a couple people here in my contacts that I have a bone to pick with, so I'm just going to start dialing. Bruce, hey, how you doing? It's Michelle, your cousin. Remember I got married back in 2008? You didn't come to the wedding. You RSVP'd yes, but then you didn't show. You remember that you came down with strep pneumonia on one particular weekend 12 years ago. I doubt that, sir. Do you know that I paid $34.98 for your plate of salmon and steak? I just wanted to get that off my chest, and I also wanted to get your reaction to the fact you never sent me a gift. You never sent me a wedding gift. Bruce, you're 47. 12 years ago, you were 35. You can send your own gift. So as you can see, this podcast is brought to you by Energy Shot because I'm doing so many things at once. I never sleep, and this is what keeps me going. Energy Shot. Get yours at your local Costco.
And welcome back to Whatever You Say. As always, I am your anonymous host. Let's get into it. Mother-in-law. Why can I never ask my mother-in-law to babysit without her doing this? That's what she does. Mom, you think you could watch the kids next Saturday for a couple of hours so I can go out on a date with your son? I don't know. I don't want to cause a problem. I don't know if it's my place to say anything. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's not my place to say anything. So I'm just sitting here, grinding my teeth down to nubs because my mom, let's call her Shkamantha, can't find the energy to spend 2.5 hours with her grandkids. Whew. Is this what it feels like to talk about your anger out loud? This feels really good. I should do this more. Somebody left me a 1-star review. And look, I understand your point of view. I can totally just get behind your eyes on this. Your opinion is valid, and I understand it, and I accept it. I feel like you're just being a little bit of a really major in a head.
Podcasting is wonderful. I really enjoy it. I just need real quick to check my planner. I have my, oh, nope, that's my meal planner. Nope, that's my kid schedule planner. Nope, that's my planner to keep track of my planners. Yes.
Objected to the angry animal sounds. Bite the dog. Listen, here's the deal.